Welcome into episode number 149 of The Voice Behind the Voice. I'm Sean Aronson, the TV and radio broadcaster for the St. Paul Saints, an independent minor league baseball team in the Twin Cities. Well, today is the day. This is the official start for me. It is always at the beginning of March that I kind of begin to slowly turn the page towards baseball season. Now, you wouldn't know that if you looked outside of the Twin Cities right now, where it's single digits in terms of temperature, snow as recently as Friday. They're calling for 5 to 8 potential inches of snow this weekend. So spring is not any closer to being here. But for me, I slowly start to turn the page today. It is when I begin the task of putting together an 80-plus page program that usually takes me about 6 weeks. I usually like to wrap what I need to do by the middle of April, just because things start to get so busy around here with player signings, and you're writing press releases, and you're having to do research on those players, and I do questionnaires with every single player, and I'm putting my media guide together. So I try to get the program out of the way about a month before the season starts. Of course, there's always some other things that need to come in over those last 2 weeks of April before we send it off to the printer. But this is it. I really do. It's the 100% focus for me on sales has now shifted. You guys have heard me talk about sales and where I stand on all that. But regardless, it is still a major part of the job. So that is the baseball front. I talked about it briefly last week, but I took on the project this weekend of painting my bathroom. I will say this, and I have painted now 4 rooms in my house, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. You can see the mistakes in the first 3 rooms that I painted. And boy, did I learn a lot from those first 3 rooms that I painted. And I was very, very proud of myself. Again, I realize it's painting a room. It is not, it is not undertaking a renovation project or anything like that. It is simple that most people can do. But tell you what, I was pretty proud when I sat back and I looked at it, and you try to look at, did a professional do this or did an amateur do this? I'll tell you, 95% of the way there, it looked like a professional could have done it. And again, it's one of those things that, as someone who is not handy at all, as you've heard me talk about this, and as a homeowner, the little things like that you can feel pretty proud of because you did it on your own. A number of people ask me, well, how come you just didn't hire someone to paint the room? And if you read anything about resale value on a house, and again, I'm not looking to sell my house, but the resale value of a house, one of the areas you can save a ton of money is if you do the painting yourself. And I'm all about that and trying to get, the money on the back end. So more projects in the future, but I am now done painting anything in my house. And I am done with projects until after the baseball season. The next project that I want to try myself with help from someone else will be putting in wood floors in my living room and kitchen. So that'll be the next disaster I get myself into. Something that was not a disaster, and that was episode number 149. It is Matt Shepard of the University of Michigan, and although he has not called a game yet for the Detroit Tigers, but the Detroit Tigers. He will take over as the voice of the Detroit Tigers this year. A couple of things on this episode. Number one, it was the first episode that I recorded last week when I was under the weather. So you will hear this as it goes along, just the way my voice sort of gets deeper and deeper as, I get more and more congested as this goes along. The second thing, we did this at Williams Arena, at the barn, about, 3 or 4 hours, 3 hours, I think, before tip-off of the Gophers Michigan Wolverines game. And so there's a couple of parts in here where they're testing out the sound system and the PA system and stuff like that. But again, you're used to all that by now. Again, great guy. I'm being redundant when I say all this because all these people are fantastic. And I got to look, I've never done an interview from inside Williams Arena where they broadcast from. And I feel bad for the road guys. I don't know where the home broadcasters sit, but the road guys are about in the second level in the corner. It's just a horrendous vantage point. I feel bad. It's an older arena. It used to be a barn. They call it the barn for a reason. And it's an older arena, so it doesn't have all these great amenities. But, man, they stick these guys in the worst spots. And I felt bad for him. But he talks about a number of different things, including getting the Tigers job. Mario Mpemba was the guy that used to have the job, who's been a guest on this podcast. We talk a little bit about that and the situation that Mario got himself into to get fired from the Tigers. He's now with the Red Sox. And I started off, you'll hear me ask the question right off the bat, how's your wife and your son doing? They got into a major car accident the beginning of January, I believe it was, and his son suffered a concussion, and his wife had a number of different serious injuries. So you'll hear me ask that right off the bat, and that's what it's in reference to. And I appreciate him for answering and being very open and honest about that. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, you can do so on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Again, be sure to rate it. And you can follow us on social media, Twitter, @TheVoiceBTV, Facebook, facebook.com/TheVoiceBTV. And you can always email me, thevoicebtv@gmail.com. All right, let's get to it. Episode number 149 with Matt Shepard, who is the voice of the University of Michigan football and basketball, and now the Detroit Tigers. JW, roll the open.
Terry Mills and I are jumping off a wing of a plane.
Sure.
I've never exited a plane before like that. So I'm going to call it a plane crash, considering there was fuselage everywhere. That slide was, opened, and people were sliding down it, and we're jumping off the wing of a plane while cheerleaders were in the background crying a little bit. You saw smoke and everything. We got off the ground a little bit and then came down. Just because we weren't 2,500 feet in the air doesn't mean it wasn't a plane.
Correct.